So ever since bata pa lang ako, gusto ko nang maging tulad ni Solomon. Bakit? Kasi matalino siya eh. Marami siyang alam. Tapos maraming humahanga sa kanya at marami siyang natutulungan kasi nga matalino siya. Alam niya yung mga bagay na kailangan gawin ng mga tao. Alam niya yung advice na dapat niyang ibigay kapag mayroong mga taong namumroblema. And that's the same thing that I wanted. I remember when I was in high school, I thought that I was going to be cool kapag nalalapitan ako ng mga taong may problema tapos natutulungan ko sila. However, I've always felt like I wasn't smart enough or wise enough. I thought that I wasn't a bright kid. Hindi ako matalino, hindi ako smarte, at wala akong masyadong nalalaman tungkol sa buhay at sa, sa how psychology works. Kahit sinasabi ng mga tao sa paligid ko na I am wise and, mature beyond my age, I couldn't believe the things that they were saying about me. Hindi ko mapaniwalaan yung mga puri nila, hindi ko mapaniwalaan yung mga magagandang bagay na sinasabi nila tungkol sa akin. Why? Because I have this limiting belief na hindi ako ganun katalino. And that's why I continued and I still continue to pursue wisdom. So on this video, I just want to share with you my notes on studying Proverbs chapter 1 verses 1 to 7. And this episode is entitled, Where Does Being Wise Begin? So let's read muna. Ano ba yung sinasabi sa Proverbs chapter 1 verses 1 to 7? The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, to receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the naive, to the youth knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. To understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. So let's break it down verse by verse. No? Sabi sa verse 1, the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. So makikita natin dito na yung author ng Proverbs, which is mostly Solomon, ay binigyan niya ng parangal yung kanyang ama, which is si David, di ba? Solomon gave honor to his father by declaring na hindi lang character ng Bible si David, kundi sumulat ng Proverbs, Solomon is looking up to David, his father. And I think this is a great start to a chapter kasi it showed na si Solomon mataas yung reverence niya sa kanyang ama, na parang isipin mo kung susulat ka ng libro at dedicated yon sa mga magulang mo. You published a book and it was a bestseller. A lot of people learned from this book and this has been read for thousands of years. And then on your dedication page, you dedicated the book that you wrote to your father. That shows that you not only honor but you revere your parents, especially your father. Sa verse 2, ang sabi niya, to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding. Yung Proverbs kasi, itong libro na to, is used to gain wisdom and instruction. Anong pinagkaiba ng dalawa na yon? Wisdom, ito'y galing sa Hebrew word na hakma, which means learning, skill in life, trade, and spiritual things. Ibig sabihin, being wise means you are skilled. You apply the knowledge that you know, the things that you know, for the purpose of earning profit, whether it's physical profit or spiritual profit. Ngayon, yung word naman na instruction came from the Hebrew word musar, which means correction and discipline. Yung mga proverbs na to, yung mga sinulat ni Solomon, these proverbs can be used to correct our behaviors and to develop our discipline in ourselves. Now, balikan natin yung word ng wisdom, no? I just want to emphasize yung sinabi dito, it's about being skillful. It's not just about knowing things, having information, but it's actually applying it. Kasi hindi mo naman magiging skill yung isang bagay unless you apply it multiple times, di ba? Unless you apply something, unless you do something a lot of times, hindi mo siya ma-develop na skill. So, being wise means being skillful, and you can only become skillful if you apply the knowledge that you have multiple times, not just once, but it actually is ingrained with who you are and people can see it in your life. So, magiging wise ka lang kapag skillfully mo na-apply itong wisdom or itong mga knowledge, yung mga bagay na nalalaman mo or yung mga bagay na alam mo na. Verse 3 says, to receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice, and equity. Ang ibig kasing sabihin ng Proverbs ay ito yung mga short or quick or concise sayings na kung saan meron tayong mga aral na pwedeng mapulot. And we can use what Solomon teaches to develop wise behavior. Yun nga, each proverb can possibly make us wiser. Or para sa akin, yung bawat salita na sasabihin niya or sinulat niya dito sa librong to can actually make me wiser and help me do wise things. Lahat ito merong parang seed na kung saan kailangan kong tignan, kailangan ko siyang pag-isipan para meron akong makuhang fruit mula dun sa mga sinasabi niyang wise things, di ba? However, we need to take a close look on the proverbs and the sayings that Solomon wrote in this book. Kasi we need to discern. By discerning, it means that we observe. Parang meron tayong mga slight nuances na nakikita dun sa mga bagay na sinasabi niya. And therefore, because we notice those nuances in his wording, his grammar, and so on, mas marami tayong nakukuha doon sa mga proverbs na sinasabi at sinulat niya. We have to look closely at what he's written because most of the time, we miss out on what we don't look at closely. Halimbawa, nasa labas ka, when something takes your attention and you give your full attention towards it, mas marami kang details na napapansin dun sa bagay na yon. Halimbawa, tumingin ka sa isang halaman, sa isang flower, mas marami kang details na nakikita dun sa flower na yon. Nakikita mo na basa siya, meron siyang butil ng tubig na tutulo na sa kanya. Yung flower na yun, merong bee na nakapatong sa kanya at kumukuha ng pollen and so on. Diba? So, mas marami tayong mga napupulot na details at information and data from looking closely at something. And that is how we are going to learn and get out a lot of learning from the Proverbs na sinulat ni Solomon by looking closely at what he means by every proverb that he wrote at tignan ito at i-interpret ito sa tamang konteksto kasi kapag tinake natin out of context yung mga sinulat niya, maaaring magkamali tayo ng interpretation. That's why we have to look closely. We have to be intentional in interpreting the words of Solomon, di ba? And I think this is why it's important to get something from the day versus just getting through the day. Ano yung pinagkaiba nun? Getting something from the day is actually looking back at what happened in your day and dissecting it, looking at it closely para may makuha tayong mga lesson na pwede nating magamit to make our life better in the future versus just getting through the day. Ang goal lang natin ay matapos yung araw, yung makauwi tayo, makapagpahinga tayo, makatulog tayo, magawa natin yung mga bagay na gusto natin, ma-entertain tayo, maubos yung oras natin sa panonood ng mga nakakatawang video or videos that take away our attention or helps us run away from the problems or challenges that we're going through right now. So, getting from the day means you reflect on the things that you are learning or you have gone through during the day. But getting through the day is just, nagpapatay ka lang ng oras. It's important to reflect on what we did, how we did them, how we felt, and so on. Sa ESV version nitong verse na to, ang sabi, to have instruction in wise dealing. Yung Hebrew word nitong wise dealing is sakal. Ibig sabihin, to have success and the potent capacity to understand and so exercise skill in life and to prosper. Yun yung mga ibig sabihin ng sakal. And ang ibig sabihin lang nito, yung mga proverbs na sinulat ni Solomon, these proverbs will not only develop wisdom in our minds and in our hearts, but will also help us become more successful or skillful in the things that we do. And therefore, we prosper. Yun nga, di ba? Ang isang meaning ng word na wisdom mula sa Hebrew, yung magkaroon ng profit, whether it's spiritual or physical. Now, when we apply the wisdom that we get from Solomon, we actually become profitable. Our lives become more profitable because hindi lang tayo nakakapagdala ng value mula sa ibang tao, but also the wise things and the wise actions that we do actually brings value to our life. Whether it be physical prosperity, which means, having money, having a lot of friends, having great relationships, diba? Or spiritual, meaning we mature in our walk with Jesus Christ. We start to grow more and become more as a person, diba? We become more mentally and emotionally mature, and so on. So the main thing is to apply and exercise these proverbs masterfully. Kasi kapag ginawa natin yun, blessings and success will come into our lives. When we focus on the application of the things that we're learning from the Proverbs of Solomon, success will come naturally. When we focus on the process, yung resulta, it will take care of itself. But when we focus on the success, yung endpoint lang, yung gusto lang nating ma-achieve, yung prestige, yung resulta sa buhay, yung goals na gusto nating ma-achieve, and so on. And when we neglect the process, hit or miss siya, and most of the time nga, miss siya. We have a higher probability of failing if we neglect the process than if we focus on the process and neglect the goal. Kasi the goal will always take care of itself if we do the right thing, if we take the right step, and then the right step, and then the right step. As long as we're going in the right direction, we will eventually get to where we want to go as long as we keep on doing the steps, and doing it in the right way. So sa verse 4, to give prudence to the naive, to the youth, knowledge and discretion. Yung prudence, ang ibig sabihin niyan is yung habit of thinking things through and showing care and thought for the future. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang tayo impulsive sa mga bagay na gusto natin gawin. And I believe that impulse control is one of the biggest things, most important things that a man should learn in life. Kasi kapag wala siya nito, mataas yung probability, yung chance na mag-fall siya into habits that destroy his life. For example, doing drugs, alcoholism, lying, cheating, di ba? Procrastination, obesity, and self-defeat in terms of self-talk, yun bang palagi niyang binababa yung sarili niya. It's all because hindi niya na-master yung impulse control. And that's why I think and I believe deep inside my heart na impulse control, itong characteristic na to is really one of the most important task, one of the most important characteristic that everyone, especially men, should develop in their life. So yung naive naman, galing siya sa Hebrew word na petit, meaning simple and easily persuaded. Hindi ito yung mga stupid people. Hindi ito yung mga tao na namili na magstay dun sa path nila towards destruction, even though alam nila long term na mali yung ginagawa nila. Ito yung naive people, ito yung mga tao na easily persuaded. Hindi pa sila rooted sa kung ano yung tama. They still haven't learned or decided yet which path to take. And so they are easily persuaded by good words and mga advice, mga mundong wisdom na maganda pakinggan, pero kapag tinignan mo at kapag inobserve mo at hinimay-himay mo yung advice na yon, sa kaduluduluhan, it would be more dangerous for you to follow it than to, look for another way, look for what the truth of the Bible says and to actually follow it. These proverbs are so true, not just because it's applicable now, but because it has been tested by time. They are true thousands of years ago and they remain true today. Yung mga sinulat ni Solomon dito sa librong to, all of it can in some way or another be applied in our life right now. We just have to look very closely to what he meant during the time na sinulat niya to. So, yung Proverbs na sinulat niya, they're true thousands of years ago and they remain true today. Now, there are a lot of earthly wisdom that aims to, persuade simple people into a way of life that's good today, but they have adverse negative effect long term. For example, yung hookup culture, yung short-term relationships, hedonism, running away and cutting people off, and so on. Maaring masaya siya at pinapangakuan kanya ng magandang benefit for the short term, but over the long term, you would regret the actions that you took because of those advice. So we can use Proverbs to correct our behaviors, to look at the lens of how we're living our life and contrasting it with how Solomon is describing an effective way to live. And when we do that, we become even more successful in life. In fact, we become models of how an effective life could be and should be. Sa verse 5 naman, ang sabi niya, a wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. Yung wise counsel dito, ang ibig sabihin nito, galing to sa Hebrew word na hakam, one who has fear of the Lord and understanding that leads to effective moral action. So being wise means that you not only choose the things that will benefit you, but you're also choosing things that will benefit others too. In short, win-win, di ba? Hindi lang tayo yung kabig ng mga benefit, kundi we are letting other people win with us, di ba? We go through a journey with other people where everyone benefits. We live life in such a way that other people are also blessed by how we act, what we say, what we do, how we think, how we see things, and so on. And we do this all without violating other people's rights or exploiting others. So, people who may be masterful in their skills can have wisdom. But if they use those skills to do immoral things, then they are considered unwise, di ba? Maaring masterful sila at marami silang nalalaman, but if they use the things that they know to do things that are illegal or to exploit other people, then they are considered fools and unwise. The last two verses tell us that to understand a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Yung fear dito means reverence. We need to revere God because revering God is the beginning of accumulating knowledge and it's the starting point of living a victorious life. When we fear God, we don't fear anything else. But when we don't fear God, our lives is full of fears, doubts, at marami tayong takot na sinusubukan takbuhan. Why? Because we don't have a God that we can depend on. We don't have the proper view of who God is. Diba? When we have a healthy view of who God is, we will accept that there are objective good and bad. And we will accept that everything we do will be judged, rewarded, or punished because He is not only loving, diba? He is also a just God. It's the beginning of knowledge because we will look for ways to please God, not for our salvation, but for the rewards that we will get when we meet God in heaven, when once we go to heaven. To despise knowledge means you feel contempt and abhor. Yung bang parang nasusuka ka kapag kinokorek ka. Lagi kang galit. Feeling mo lagi kang inaatake kapag kinokorek ka. Since these proverbs can be used to correct our behavior, di ba? It gives us instruction in how to live. And because of that, we develop discipline. Foolish people abhor it. They don't like hearing it and they don't want anyone correcting their behavior and so on. Let's go back to the beginning. Ang title nitong episode na to is Where Does Being Wise Begin? And it begins by having the fear, the proper view, having reverence towards God. Because when we have that, we will seek godly wisdom. We will live our life in such a way that we honor God. And when we honor God, we live effective lives that not only benefit us in the long term, but also the people around us. At minsan nga hindi lang yung mga tao sa paligid natin, but generations to come. We're able to live a life in such a way that we impact the lives of people that we will never meet. Kasi yung testimony of how we lived our life is passed on to them, and therefore the blessings of our life reaches them. And even if they don't remember us, even if they don't even know us, it doesn't minimize the things, the effectiveness of our life well lived. So yun lang, maybe this is my invitation for you to don't just copy the world's wisdom, but to actually analyze it. Himayin mo yung mga naririnig mo sa social media, sa mga YouTubers, sa mga influencers. Himayin mo siya at i-contrast mo sa kung ano ba yung sinasabi ng Biblia, because the things that the world says may be good for now, but at the end of the day, it might lead you to a life of regret and a life kung saan you won't be effective and you're going to just waste your life. It's better to cling on something that has been proven for thousands and thousands of years and will still be proven thousands of years from now, versus on things na maganda pakinggan pero wala namang laman. That's it for me. Thank you for listening, and remember, just conquer today.